Hello everyone, welcome back to Coder and Boards. Today we are going to discuss about a topic called Introduction to Version Control Systems. So if you're a software engineer, version control system is something that you deal in your day-to-day life. So you might be dealing with various version control systems. It depends on like company to company. So every companies use their own version control systems of their choice. Today we are going to discuss about the fundamentals of the version control system, why we need the system, and how the system got evolved. So the topics that we are going to discuss today are what's a version control system, need for a version control system, advantages of version control systems, popular version control systems, what is a Git, why Git is so popular, how can I use Git. So these are the topics that we are going to discuss today. So let's get into the detail. So what is a version control system? So when we develop applications, so we need the program or the code, we need to keep a track of all the changes that is happening in the code. Otherwise what will happen is today we are working on large projects where there will be several developers working from different locations. So and they will be working on a single piece of code. They might be like working on various features. They may keep adding or removing lines of code to the files, or maybe they may be adding modules, they may be removing some features. So there will be like multiple changes happening as part of the product release. So to track this code properly, it's a big task. Okay, so if you're not tracking the version, or if you're not tracking the changes that is happening to the code, it's going to become a big mess. So this version control systems are designed or developed to keep a track of or record all the changes that is happening to the code. It is not just the code. We can use it for maybe like files, or we can use it for drawings, we can use it for anything that you want to track the changes. So but this is popularly used for tracking the code changes, but it has some other applications as well. It can be used in other applications as well. Fundamentally what it do is it basically keeps a track of all the modifications that is happening to the files and folders inside. And also tracks means it tells who made what changes, when it was made. Okay, so where is the change, we can see the line, or basically like at the granular level we'll be able to track the change. Okay, so need for a version control system. So need for a version control system means, personally, so I have when I was working in projects, I have experiences where people never followed or used a version control system. So what happens is every developer will have their own copy of a code. They will keep something in the production. So if they are actively working on a single project, and maybe like only single developer working on a single project, maybe it is possible to track or say what is there in the production, what is there in the developer's hand or laptop. But let's say if over a period of time what will happen is the developer will lose track of it, and they will not be able to tell what is the version deployed in the production. Okay, let's say there are multiple production deployments. Let's say the code is deployed to customer A, customer B, and customer C. Okay, so what will happen, customer A requested a patch, so developer took the code from customer A, they made the patch, deployed there. Okay, but if you don't have a system to track each of these changes, what will happen is over a period of time the developer will lose the control. Lose the control means he will not be able to say which version is the latest, where is the latest changes deployed. Okay, so let's say if you want to basically work on a next feature or a next version of the entire code, so ideally the previous patches that he has added, that also need to be included, right? But if he is not following a proper version controlled mechanism, what will happen is the patches that he made or the hot fixes that he made on the live production, that will not come in as part of the next release. Okay, the reason is he might have forgot, or he will lose track of the code where it was deployed and all. So just to avoid all these kind of problems, we need a version control system. And another thing is need basically when you work on any project, there can be several developers. Okay, the developers may work from various locations. So they will be working on the single project. Let's say they are working on building a website. Okay, so there are two developers for, or maybe three developers for building the backend, and maybe three developers for building the front end. So front end code base, the same code base, three developers will be simultaneously working on the same. So every day, morning to evening, the same developer will be three developers will be working on that. So they may make changes to various parts of the code throughout the day. So if they don't have a central repository to commit or store this code and merge the changes every day, what will happen is, over a period of time, they will have three different copies of the code, and merging all the changes that they have done over the period of time, it is going to become a complex process. Okay, to avoid all these problems, so, or maybe basically based on all these learnings, so smart guys has invented these kind of version control system. Okay, and last but not the least, so to securely store the code. So if the code is stored in developer laptops or in just the production deployment servers, what will happen? Let's say if the server goes down, okay, let's say the hard disk corrupted, or the user laptop laptop's hard disk corrupted, or maybe the employee got moved to another company. So in all these scenarios, what will happen? There is a chance of losing the code. Okay, or maybe we can say accidental deletions. In all these scenarios, to retrieve the code, okay, if we have the code committed to a central repository, so we can actually get rid of these kind of issues. So now let's talk about different types of version control systems. So over a period of time, so when I started working in my initial days of career, the version control system that was used in my organization was Subversion and TFS. Okay, so in some projects we were using SVN, and in some versions, some projects we were using TFS. So compared to that, so basically the modern version control systems like Git. Okay, so it's very easy to work. The reason is basically because of the nature of operations. Okay, so I'll explain that in the later slides, but now let's discuss about two different types of version control system. So one is centralized and second is distributed. On the left hand side, you can see the centralized version control system, where we have a central repository. So there will be developers working on working copy and directly doing the commits to the central server. Okay, so that means all the changes will be directly reported or directly committed to the central repository. Okay, so this is what is happening in the centralized version control system. In case of distributed version control system, what will happen is the repository, there will be multiple chains. Okay, so repository itself, there will be a local copy and a central copy. Okay, so developers will basically do commits to the local copy, and the local copy will be finally merged to the central repository, or the central copy. So in this way, what will happen is till they commit, okay, till they do the final merge, okay, so he can basically keep a separate version or separate copy, and he can continue working on the separate copy for a period of time. Okay, so the effective, or basically that is something that is widely used in the current days, are the distributed version control system, where every developer can have his own copy of the code. He can keep making the changes. It's like let's say going back to our example where we have a web development, where we have the web developers and the backend developers. So backend developers can continue working on his own copy of maybe the local repository, developer 1, developer 2 and developer 3, and finally once he made all the changes, he can commit it back to the, or he can raise or merge the changes to the central repository. So this is the distributed version control system. Okay, so and here in this slide we will discuss about a simple workflow, Git workflow. Okay, simple workflow. So this is we'll start from the left. So this is the central or the common code base. Okay, let's say I wanted to add a feature. Let's say I have a website, so the code base is of about the website. So I wanted to add a new page to the website. So currently the blue version of the code is the one that is deployed in production. So I wanted to add a new feature. So adding a new feature means it's not like directly adding the changes to the production version without testing it, right? It goes through the product life cycle, right? Product development life cycle, or software, if depending upon the product, if it is a software, if it is software development life cycle. So that means there will be development, there will be testing, and testing also, there will be multiple phases, maybe vulnerability penetration, all those kind of testing will happen, and finally these changes will be deployed, or it will be released to the production, right? So they will take the latest code from the common base. So that is, like, we can say, feature branch. Okay, they will keep adding the features, that is a green path, and this blue path is basically the main code base. So this is a feature branch. Okay, that means we can branch out to a separate track. They keep updating the changes, and finally once the features are all tested, okay, all ready, then what will happen, we will release it. Okay, and then we will commit it, merge it back to the main track. Okay, and then maybe we take it to the production. So in this way, the main or the master track will not get disturbed or modified, okay, unless it is a stable release. Okay, so so in this workflow we have shown like a simple or single feature flow, but there can be multiple branches like this. There can be, let's say, there is a bug in the production. Okay, so we want an immediate fix for the bug. So that and there is another track that is going on right now, which is basically a feature development. So we don't want to wait till the feature to be released. So what we can do is, in the main track itself, we can do a hotfix track, temporary hotfix track, and then that hotfix we can deploy to the production. Also the hotfix we can apply to the upcoming feature also, the new release also. So in this way we can have like an effective product release management. Okay, that is the easiest term, an effective product release management and effective collaboration, and this helps in the effective or maybe the fast delivery of a product. Okay, so maybe to summarize, what are the advantages of using a version control system? So as I explained, it enhances the project development speed by providing efficient collaboration. Okay, so the collaboration is very efficient. Okay, that means every developer can work simultaneously without conflicts. Okay, improves productivity, expedites product delivery and skills of employees through better communication and assistance. Nowadays this Git, it has basically so what will happen is when we commit the code, okay, so we basically have a proper track of what changes are made. Okay, so what is there, and also as I explained in the previous slide, so it basically helps us to plan the releases, okay, without these kind of the overheads like merge conflicts and all. Okay, and it helps us, everyone, because we don't want to the employees can collaborate simply through this system itself. They don't want to, basically they don't have to every evening when they want to commit the code back, they don't have to spend so much of time. It's just 5 minutes task to commit the code back to the repository. So end of the day is going to be very smooth, instead of spending hours to merge the code. Then better traceability. So this is the modern version control system provides provides a proper traceability and visibility of each and every change. Okay, and location constraints. Okay, so there is no location constraint, developers can work from anywhere. So the modern version control systems like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, all these version control systems, it's online and you can access it from the internet. So also there can be the hosted versions of the same by enterprises that can be accessed to our VPN as well. So that means employees can work from multiple geographical locations. Okay, and another is the distributed version control mechanism that we have explained in the previous slide. So distributed means basically they can have a separate working copy, okay, and they can keep developing it, and at the end, I mean, they can basically do merge. At the time of merge, basically, like, I mean, each and every changes are validated, and it is all going to be I mean, it is all trackable, traceable. Okay. And the next point is basically as a backup to recover in case of any emergency situation or a disaster. So if, like, I mean, let's say the let's say developer's laptop hard disk got crashed. Okay. So we can basically take the latest committed copy from the version control system. Or let's say the production system, something happened to the production system, we will not be able to recover. In that scenario also, we can still download the code from the version control system, the last released version from the version control system. Okay. And also the last point is, like, it gives a clear idea of all the changes happen to the code, who, what, when, why. Okay, all these changes. And also we can have approvals, like, let's say if you want to if you don't want to allow the developers to commit something to the code without an approval, so we can have these kind of policies also put in place, so that it goes through the proper approval process. So till now we discussed about version control system. Okay, so now what's Git? So Git is basically a version control system. Okay, so before Git also there were other version control systems like SVN, TFS, etc. So Git is something that was developed, or maybe, like, I mean, released in the year of 2005 by the founder of Linux. Okay, so this was developed by Linus Torvalds, because the reason for this invention was the version control system that he was using, they updated or they changed the licensing policy of that, and it became something paid. So I think, I mean, then based on that, he developed a version control system called Git. Okay, so this is, maybe we can say, the next gen, or maybe, like, I mean, the it gave a new life to the version control system, and it made our life simpler. Okay, and now after that, this Git was added as a release. Basically it was combined with almost all versions of Linux. Okay, now you will see Git CLI as a package in Linux itself. And now let's discuss about the popular version control system services. Okay, so when we say Git, okay, we simply say Git, but we might be using one of the services like GitHub. Most of the developers, maybe we can say 99% of the people who work in the software industry knows, at least heard about GitHub. Okay, so it's very popular. GitLab, okay, it's another version control system service. Then Bitbucket, Azure DevOps, Amazon Code Commit, all these are basically, like, I mean, different flavors of Git. Okay, it's not limited to these numbers, there are so many, so I just, like, I mean, listed down the popular systems, but there are so many other version control systems, and all these are basically Git based. Okay, so you can basically simply use Git commands, or I mean or Git compatible softwares for interacting with all these systems. Now the last question, how to use Git. Okay, so Git is very simple, it's not a complicated thing. It is basically it is developed to simplify the developers development effort and product lifecycle management. Okay, so it's not to complicate things. So it has, I mean, several ways to interact. One is every version control system, for example GitHub, GitLab, so all these version control system, it has a GUI. Okay, so GUI has limited functionality because we are not developing the code or manually uploading the code through the GUI. So we usually, developers use IDEs, right? So they can basically interact with this Git systems through the IDEs. There will be plugins available. So the web GUI, which is provided by these services, it has very limited functionality. So we use it for basically creation of the projects, maybe creation of the branches. Okay, so maybe for creating readmes, those kind of things we can use, but still it has a web GUI. Okay, so we can interact with Git through web GUI. The second is the most popular thing, so Git command line and Git desktop application. Maybe the Git command line is the most popular tool that almost every developer use. So Git command line we can use, there is a Git CLI which can be accessed from our Windows CM command prompt, PowerShell, or Linux systems or Mac systems. So there we can use the commit, push, pull, all these operations we can use. So there are a set of standard commands. I'll explain those commands through a separate video. So that is a popular option. Git desktop also, there is an application called Git desktop. So we can use Git desktop as well for doing this Git operations. Okay, so then the third is integration plugins. There are several integration plugins available for the popular IDEs. So the popular IDEs in the sense Eclipse, Intelligent, this one, PyCharm, Visual Studio Code. So all these IDEs, there are plugins available. So once we have the plugin, then directly from the IDE itself, we can do this check-in, check-out operation. Okay, so then the last option is basically the APIs. So all version control systems, they have APIs, and this is mostly used by, let's say, like for the development of integration plugins, or maybe if you want to integrate it with your product. So those kind of advanced applications, people use APIs. But normally just for the code versioning, people use maybe like the options 2 and 3. Okay, so I think this gives you a high level idea of what's the version control system, what are the popular version control systems, advantages of or benefits of using version control systems. So it gives a high level idea. I hope the messages are clear, and if you have any questions regarding these topics, feel free to comment below this video. I'll definitely give the answer. And as a follow-up to this video, there will be an upcoming video on the usage of Git CLI, the terminologies of Git, okay, the Git operations, etc. So thank you for watching this video.